Ladies and gentlemen, before I get into the content and the details of this video, I first would like to apologize and issue a viewer discretion. What you're about to witness is not acceptable. It's not okay. It is a disaster. And of course, what I'm talking about is a chess game played between Zach, the dumbest chess bot in the world, and Worstfish, a chess engine literally programmed to make the worst possible move at any given moment. A couple of years ago, I made a video called The Worst Chess Game Mathematically Possible when Worstfish played Worstfish in a quest to find the worst move, every single move. And yet the game that I'm going to show you today is somehow even worse than that. So without further ado, allow us to jump into this battle between our protagonist or antagonist hero Zach and Worstfish. Oh my goodness, oh goodness. All right, here we go. B4. Zach plays the Polish opening. Now, Worstfish wants to lose as fast as possible, so within 6 moves, it does that. It plays G5. Just don't even pay attention to what Zach is doing, okay? Just don't even pay attention. He's a poorly behaved dog. Knight here, knight back. Worstfish, honestly, very impressively, walks its king directly into the line of sight of white, and it's made in 1. It has fulfilled its quest. It's lost a game of chess in just 6 turns. Even against this absolutely moronic approach by white. Now, of course, Zach will not play pawn to d4. That's not going to happen. Because he only checkmates you in 1 move if you force him to do that. Which I don't think Worstfish can do. I don't think it's programmed to do that. It's going to play the worst move possible every turn. So, it's not going to be able to cut down Zach's options, which you have to do. You got to remove his other pieces. You basically have to treat him like a 3-year-old who doesn't want to go sleep. You got to, like, zone in his focus on sleeping. Like, it's not going to work. So, Zach goes c3. Now, this is the first mate in 1 on the board. But the amount of mate in 1s in this video, I tried to count it, and I couldn't. I gave up. So, you're going to have to count them. c3. Now, Worstfish plays knight f6. It has a lot of moves. It continues to allow itself to get mated. Zach now plays a move so stupid, it removes future possibilities of mates in 1. He plays bishop a3, and now the evaluation is 1.8. Think about that. It's mate in 1 here, and the opponent has a king on f4. And after this one idiotic move, these pieces are so poorly positioned, you can't even get the queen out fast enough. If black starts running the king back to e5 and white begins opening the position, it doesn't even matter. You can't even get a checkmate here. The king will run all the way home, and it's only +2. How is it only +2? It was just made in 1. That's how bad Zach is. Now, Worstfish, absolutely undefeated, undisputed, e5 on the board. Now it is mate in 1 to a pawn, and a knight. That's 5 mate in 1s on the board. I mean, I'm not going to count the whole video. I think I'm going to lose my mind. Zach plays d3, which is impressive, and Worstfish plays knight to g8. And now I really can't count the mates in 1. I think it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more. That's 11 mates in 1. And I'm going to miss some. Zach plays g4. He misses it. Okay, he misses it. And obviously, you know, these pawns are creating just a wall. Like, the king is going to get mated every move. Worstfish goes here. We can now recount all of those checkmates, minus the move g3, because pawns don't go backwards. And this idiot manages to uncheckmate in 1 Worstfish. Now Worstfish is actually devastated because it's back to 0.7 from 11 mates in 1 to equal. If black plays king takes f5. It is equal. But it's worst fish. So it continues to wall in its own king. And we are back to counting mates in 1. There is no g3, there's no knight h3, but there's 1, 2, 3, 4 mates in 1. Oh, but Zach is just so determined to unimpress us. By the way, this game is 500 moves, so just buckle up. just sit back, relax, and just enjoy. So, bishop h3. Zach goes and takes away the bishop. So now worst fish can't even be mated again, because it can always take. It will make that move if it has to. It won't, because bishop g7, and now it's made into again, but it's only made into if you glue the bishop and the pawn together so the king can't get out. Zach is utterly incapable of doing that and quite literally forces his opponent to escape by playing queen to d2 check and forcing worst fish into king takes f5. There have been probably over 20 or 30 possibilities at this point to checkmate the opponent, and the king is out. And now worst fish is left with a very difficult task of resealing the king into the position so that it gets mated. And Zach is dealt a new hand where he needs to push the king back so he can't mate it ever. That's right. Zach goes bishop c1. Now, bishop to c1 is low-key genius because you make a battery with your queen and bishop, and then you threaten the pawn. The move here from worst fish is incredible because there actually is a way to make this move mate in 1 for white. There is a way. And the way is queen e6. It is the only move. The only move on the board that prevents the king from escaping to e6 is to block it with the queen. Otherwise, if you bring everything forward, queen g5 is there, and yeah. So queen e6 is played. I mean, you know. Zach goes here. Black is better. Black is better. Black is better. Black is better. How is that possible? There's not a move black can make here that actually like worsens the position. Any move, think about what I'm saying. Any move black plays is okay. Because black can't move the king any closer, and black can't lose the queen. Worst fish will lose the queen. It's gonna try to do that on the next move. Literally. So it goes d4, because on the next move, it wants to lose the queen by force. Now it's it's +2, but if g4 was played, it was only +1. Because on this move, you would have to take with the king. That's what it would do. So it goes d4, and it is determined to lose its queen. I mean, this is chess on a level none of us can ever hope to achieve. a3 from Zach, because he's terrible, and queen c4 losing the queen in 1 move. That was the worst move you could have played. It is even worse than queen a2, because that wouldn't have activated a piece, whereas this would activate a diagonal, I guess. Now Zach goes here, and worst fish can take and re-equalize the game, but it's going to take on d3, because if it takes on d3, it's giving up a queen with a check, and then obviously the king is under attack, so it goes queen takes d3, and now it is +7 again. Zach in this position plays knight to e2, and after pawn takes or queen takes on e3, black wins a couple of pawns and just has a better position. Determined here to lose its queen to its opponent, who worst fish has no idea who it's up against, by the way. Like, this is worst fish's worst nightmare, okay? Bishop f8. Undeveloping a bishop. White has a knight in the game. White also is going to bring a rook into the game. It's now +9 if you take queen takes queen. Zach goes rook to d1, defending his queen from, instead of just taking with the queen, rook d1 on the board. And worst fish plays b6, yet again, giving up its queen with a check, which Zach does not take. Not only does he not take it, he moves away from the future possibility of taking the queen. Like, that, yeah. So Worst fish goes here, because this is now guaranteed you have to take the queen. They are snuggling together, but this is no love story. This is chess. You have to take the queen. Worst fish doesn't know who it's up against, so now, for absolutely no reason, both sides move a couple of pawns around, all right? We just have a little pawn interlude. It's all good. Now we have the same position. At this point, worst fish completely loses its mind. It's like, all right, well, I'm trying to give away a queen, so while we're at it, I'm also going to give away a bishop, because now you're going to take with check and then take my bishop on the next move. Instead of that, Zach plays like, you should try to play Guess the Move live on the video. Zach in this position plays the ultra powerful king to g3. Strong, obviously, nice move. Worst fish responds with losing its queen and its bishop by force once again. Zach responds, actually, with taking a pawn. Maybe we're getting somewhere. I don't know. Worst fish plays a move that loses a queen and a rook. Honestly, kind of impressive. Kind of impressive that it's coming up with stuff like this. Zach goes rook a2. It plays rook b7, volunteering itself for 2 rooks to the pawn and a new queen, which is a 19-point turnaround. Zach goes rook e1. Worst fish plays h5. Zach says, oh, me also want to push pawn. h4. Worst fish plays b5. Zach goes, me also want to push pawn. f4. What is going on, bro? What is this? Worst fish is actually really happy because now that you have allowed the king to come forward, it will always try to lose with the king. Now, it's equal. Look at this position. How is this equal? It's equal because after pawn takes pawn check, you can actually bring the rook out. Like, this is the real Stockfish. This is 3,800 Stockfish observing this game going, what am I not? What? It doesn't know what we're doing. It doesn't know what we're filming. Now, king e4 on the board. There is no mate in the evaluation. Zach in this position plays bishop to a1, which blunders everything. The queen, the rook is just hanging. Everything is hanging. Worst fish plays de3 and finds a way to mate itself in one again, which is just insanely impressive. Queen takes queen as mate. The king is walled in on the light squares and everything is blocking his passage. Of course, Zach doesn't see that and plays probably the worst move on his own, queen to d2. And now pawn takes, of course, wins a queen and threatens the rook. Bishop c1 from worst fish. I mean, we are just forming a little collage here. This is like, you know, the same as if you took black and white paint and threw it at a wall. You might end up with a chess position that looks like this. Pawn takes e5 from Zachary, and it is -4 for worst fish, who is now winning. But after rook to g7, it is once again mate in one, queen c2. I have lost count, but somebody in the comment section, because I have a dedicated viewership base, some of you are very passionate, you will count it up. Rook to a5. Rook h7, it's mate in one again. King to h2, and now the king actually has passage into the position. Rook c7 on the board, it's mate in 2, it's never going to be played. Zach goes pawn takes b5. Basically, we are hoping for a chance, like, maybe Zach is going to take all of worst fish's pieces and then mate it? Maybe? g4 from worst fish, it's back to mate in 2. King to g1, I'm actually kind of shocked it's not going king f3, but actually king f3 is only equal in strength to some of the other moves, right? Rook h7 back, it's just mate in 2. Zach is taking another pawn. Worst fish at some point is just going to run out of pieces to give away, right? So rook h6, and now knight to a3. You are winning every move if you just take this queen as black. It's actually incredible. You can take the queen and almost not even be better because of how bad your king is. Anyway, knight a3, bishop to b2. I've lost count. It's made into 4 million ways at this point. Knight g3 is made into knight to b5 on the board. It's -5. Knight to f6, losing a knight, but more importantly, knight g5 king, and then queen takes is just checkmate. Knight to c1, and finally, oh my goodness, oh my days, finally, worst fish once again finds an opportunity to get mated in one move and goes king f3, and it's queen takes pawn mate on the board again. This is like the 40th checkmate that it's managed to find. I'm losing my voice. Instead of that, this absolute certified idiot goes queen to d7, losing the queen to 1, 2 knights, and also its mate for Worstfish. From mate in 1 to literally mate in 1, the other direction, except it's not forced, and Worstfish will find the worst move on the board. What is the worst move on the board in this position, you may ask? Queen f5! Because after queen f5, there is a force mate, queen f5, king g3, knight e2, king h4, king g2, rook h1. Never gonna happen. Instead of that, Zachary goes knight to e2, and after knight to h7, this is now mate in 1 because the king escape is covered. Zachary goes knight to c7 instead, attacking a rook on the other side of the board. All right, king to e4 back from Worstfish. Queen to d8, which does absolutely nothing except queen f2, losing the rook and then the knight and then the bishop and then getting checkmated. G3 from Worstfish, it's mate in 1 once again with queen to d5 in the middle of the board, but it's not played. Knight e8 galloping away from Zachary, who is quite literally not trying to checkmate whatsoever. Bishop to c1 from black, I don't know what that move does. King to h1 from white, I don't know what that move does. Rook a7, it is mate in 1 every single move, but Zachary will not be defeated. He moves the queen away from the d file, and now he will not be able to checkmate Worstfish. Worstfish, of course, has queen f3 and queen h2, followed by queen h2. That's not going to happen. Queen takes e5. It finds a way yet again to get mate in 3, but Zachary is undeterred, capturing a bishop. You know what else is a turd? His brain. Knight to f8, it's now mate in 2 if you play queen takes queen. We don't get queen takes queen. We have rook to g6, it's mate in 2 if you take with the queen. Knight to b3 instead. The king goes back to run to the queen. Worstfish runs its own king into a mating net because now rook e5 is mate. I mean, this is sensational. This is genius like we cannot even begin to fathom. Bishop to c3. Okay, almost. Knight h7. Bishop e1. Removing the bishop from the better diagonal to the central square. Here comes the knight galloping in. Rook e5 is mate in 1. Knight to d6 blocks the queen. Zachary will not do it. The queen moves over to g5, and now knight to d4, relinquishing control of the d4 square is mate in 1. And it hangs the queen. Knight to f7. Queen h4, of course, from Worstfish, but we have rook back to g8, knight d4 is still mate, rook to d1, knight d4, rook e5, rook d6, all mate. 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 All mate. I don't think there's another mate, unless I'm not seeing one. Knight b1 back. It is now equal if black captures the queen. Never gonna happen. Rook e8. Mate. Mate. Knight d6. Puts the knight on the wrong square. Rook e7. We are only 60 moves into a 240 move game. At some point, I will speed up, because at some point, we're going to run out of pieces. But if you're still here, oh yeah, that was 25% of the total game. Knight back to f5, all right? Worstfish brings its queen, queen e7 is now mate, and then it pushes its pawn to e2 because queen takes rook for white is mate, and then it plays rook h7 because now rook d6 and rook e5 are both mate, and after rook a4, rook f7, queen to d6 is mate. Instead, we have queen g3, and now queen h8, and queen d6 again is mate. The king is being walled in by the black pieces. Knight g4, rook a7, queen e5 is mate. Queen c3, rook a8, queen e5, queen e5 is mate. c7, queen g7, queen e5 is mate. Knight e3, king e7, now it's mate in 2. Queen f8, it walls in the king on the f file. Queen e5 is mate again. Queen d2, queen e8, queen d6 is mate again. Knight c2, e1. I have never seen a promoted piece be able to be captured by 4 different pieces. Queen d6 is still mate. Zachary promotes to another queen. Queen d6 is still mate. Queen d6 is still mate. Queen cd8 and queen dd8 are both mate. Queen c8 is mate in 2. Queen c8 is mate in 2. Queen 3 e5 is mate. Queen 3 e5 is mate. It's now mate in like 6, so pretty impressive that he manages to avoid it. Now there are so many checkmates, it's impossible to count all of them. This is mate, that's mate, that's mate, that's mate. This is, you know, there's a saying, it takes 2 to tango. There has never been a moment where that has been more true. It really takes 2 to tango in this game. There are so many mates. Again, I told you you can count them. I think there's 1,000 checkmates in this game. All right, queen d8 is mate. Queen d8 is mate. It's mate. Queen d6, everything is mate. Mate. Like at some point you would even think it would just accidentally mate. You know, queen e6 is mate. Queen e6 is mate. Queen d8 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 is mate. Queen h8 is mate. Queen h8 is mate. What is this? This is like when you wake up at 2 a.m. after you have a fever. Like and you're like, oh my, I was dreaming about chess. It was a crazy position. I was playing for the Slovenian championship of 19 whatever. And guys, this is 100 moves we have played. We have played 100 moves, and honestly, at some point, Worsfish's strategy is gonna have to change. Like, they can't continue to shuffle around, because if they continue to shuffle around like this, we're gonna reach the 50 move rule, and Worsfish can't have that. It will sacrifice something. The thing is, Worsfish won't play the practical best move. It's gonna play the worst move. The worst move. But if neither side captures or pushes a pawn, we are gonna hit the 50 move rule. That's the rule. And there we go, we have a capture. Worsfish decided it had to capture something, so it takes, even though that's not the best move, because otherwise the game would have ended in a draw. I'm not even exaggerating. So on the 73rd move, there was a promotion. On the 122nd move, we have almost the same position. And it has to take, because now the 50 move rule resets. And that is exactly what happens in this game. The players just move. Oh, Zach is an idiot, so he resets the counter on the 136th move, and now we move, and we move, and we move, and maybe Zachary's gonna take something at some point. Maybe he's gonna take something. Is he gonna take anything? We're 150 moves into this game. By the way, I'm not even counting every mate. I mean, you can count every mate. I can't even continue to do this. Zachary takes another piece. So at some point, Worsfish might get stalemated. Like, it's going to continue to try to lose its queen. It's trying to lose its queen every single move. There are now knight mates available to it. That's double check and mate. It keeps trying, and at some point, maybe Zachary's going to capture one of these pieces. Maybe. Worsfish is... What is this? What? Zach manages not to take any of the pieces. None of them. None of them. He didn't take any of them anymore. The rooks and the queen are just on the board. I don't even know how to commentate this. This is... I warned you at the beginning of the video, right? I told you that there... Okay. The queen's gone. Come on, Zach. Zach, just play the mate, bro. Zachary, please, just mate by accident, brother. Okay. This is 220 moves into this game. And my friends, I do regret to inform you that on the 243rd move of this game, as much as Worsfish tried to lose and begged for relief, it played rook to g1, and this was the worst move that you could have possibly played in this position. What am I talking about? How can there even be a worst move when you are faced with a 30-point material disadvantage and simply an inexplicable amount of checkmates in one move? This was the worst move on the board because in this position, Zach took. And despite a 35-point material advantage, where he was ahead by 2 queens, 2 rooks, a knight, a bishop, a pawn, and a cow, this was a stalemate. And Zachary snatched a draw from the jaws of victory.